Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. So, this is the next episode of the Ministry of Jesus in Jerusalem. Again, I'm here not to preach, I'm here just to, and not to dive in theology, but I'm here to present you archaeology that you can find in Jerusalem. So, in the first episode, as you know, I also add lots of photographs and some guiding aids if they're available. So, this is one of those. Last time we stayed on the Mount of Olives. This is exactly how Jesus the olives. And at that point, I see that my internet connection is not that good, so I'll rather just probably move to the other room. And we know that Jesus would be staying in Jerusalem for several days at least. And the main reason was pilgrimage. And when it gets to pilgrimage, when it gets to visiting the temple, and it's very important to follow several rules. And every pilgrimage would normally would normally include the purchase of um, sacrifice, the animal for the sacrifice, and also paying the special tax, uh, which we will be talking about probably on some other tours as well. And there's one more important thing. Every pilgrimage, every access to the temple was supposed to be um, done after purification, uh, which is done in a, well, mikveh, right? Mikveh is the bath for spiritual purification in Judaism. And well, Jesus was a Jew, and obviously, well, we know for sure. We are convinced that he must have immersed himself in the mikveh before visiting the temple. So is where were those mikvehs? Obviously, they had to be somewhere really close to the Temple Mount. And so the possible versions are pools of Bethsaida, which we are going to visit also at some point. It's one of the options, and we know also that there a miracle happened. Well, it could be also pools of Siloam, and we know that even though it is never really mentioned in any gospel that uh, Jesus immersed himself in the pool of Siloam, right? That's not mentioned, but it mentioned that there was another miracle performed by Jesus in the pool of Siloam. So I suggest we start with the Siloam pool, and we'll try to find it first of all because it's also not so easy. And if you have been following the well archaeology news, I know some of you are very much interested and invested in archaeology. Well, the pools of Siloam has been on the news, multiple archaeology and history journals. So let's see. So the temple, the Mount of Olives. Let's say this is the model, this from the city of David, the model of Jerusalem at that time, and that's the Temple Mount, and that's the city of David. Why I'm showing you this? That's not how the city looked at times of Jesus, but to understand what is Pool of Siloam, we need to go back to those days, to the times of the, well, actually to the times of King Hezekiah, but even before that. So, what is the Siloam Pool? The Siloam Pool is there. It was um, the water, the sources of water to the pools of Siloam were coming from the Gihon spring. And the Gihon spring, which is very famous for the times of King Hezekiah, which is like the 8th century BCE, King Hezekiah managed to build the underground tunnel to protect Jerusalem from the onslaught of Assyrian invasion. And this is another illustration also from the city of David. And you can walk down this Hezekiah's tunnel. So the Mount of Olives is somewhere here, like that. The Gihon Spring starts somewhere here, and then so King Hezekiah managed to build that tunnel just to make sure that even under siege, the population of Jerusalem would have the source of water. And that was the case. And you know, Assyrians never really attacked Jerusalem. Um, the Gihon Spring is well known from multiple sources. This is just one of the sources. Well, that's what it looked like. So it is a tunnel, all hewn in the rock. This is the illustration of the 19th century. And this is a very known collection of illustrations by David Roberts. And yes, you can visit the Hezekiah's tunnel. Uh, it's one of the important attractions um, in the Holy Land in general, unless well, you are afraid of narrow spaces and the darkness. And if you are afraid, better not to go there. Trust me, because there is no easy escape from there too. No quick escape. You just have to go along. There's no emergency exit whatsoever. So, why Siloam Pool? So let's go to to John chapter 9, verses 1 from 7. I will read it also to you. And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did see this man or his parents that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that he works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the work of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said unto him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam. Uh, he went with his way before, his way therefore, and washed and came seeing. Well, it must have happened either around the time Jesus immersed himself in the mikveh or uh, or immediately after that. Like why else, what else would have he been doing there unless purifying himself? So we believe that this is exactly where the pool of Siloam, this is exactly where Jesus immersed himself, in the pools of Siloam. It's one of the options. The other one is the pool of Bethsaida, but we will get to that. So, and there is a village, the still one, the Arab village. You see, this place is also managed by Waqf, so the authority that deals with the heritage site, Muslim heritage site. And for a long time, up until 2004, we thought that this very narrow spring, with the collection of ruins from a Byzantine church, we used to think that this is the Pool of Siloam, which means that obviously, so you see there is a building here. So technically speaking, you see kind of steps. So it was supposed to be somewhere there, right? But there's no way to take down the walls. There's no way to do that. So, and well, there was found the ruins of the church, Byzantine period, and we know that Byzantines, they managed to mark a bunch of places related to Jesus and his ministry and his disciples. So this is when the tradition started, and we know that the Byzantines wouldn't just make it up, because ever since Jesus' crucifixion, there was this massive movement started, the followers of Christ, and many places would just become kind of undercover pilgrimage sites, and the Byzantine tradition just nourished that. So there is a part of the column just here in the wall. There is also part of a column also sticking from another wall over there. So these are the ruins that used to belong to that Byzantine church, uh, uh, constructed on the place of the Siloam pool. But in 2004, there was um, there was a flood, and that flood, well, it helped to wash away some parts of the soil in the former Greek Orthodox garden. It used to belong to the Greek church. There was a garden over there, and that also enabled the Israel authorities, antiquities authorities, to dig a little bit just around the garden where it was possible, because not all of that used to belong to the Greek. It wasn't the Greek property. And it's not really far from the original, well, from the place that we used to think was the Siloam pool, and it's the same water, and it's the same drainage system, kind of, in a way. So they were found steps, the long line of steps, um, which probably was exactly the Siloam pool, right? Hence the name of the village, so Silwan, which also kind of makes it easier to identify the possible spot. It should be somewhere next to the village of Silwan. And yeah, that's exactly the case. That's exactly the case. Now, well, after that, so eventually the plot of land, the garden, was purchased from the Greeks. It took some time for Israel authorities to do that. And this video that I'm showing you was filmed in 2022, end of 2022. And not much actually you can see there, but as we go, you can see lots of stones. And over there, you can see um, there's still it's still the garden. So basically, they didn't really get down to any cleaning at that point yet. Um, you see, this is dry. There are some steps, and obviously, you see that the place uh, was rearranged for the visit. And ever since the visits were available, this would always be a very important place because, well, this place is important. It became important for both Jews and Christians because for Jews, this is one of the biggest pools for immersion, a mikveh, all around the corner from the Temple Mount and the city of David. And for Christians, because this is exactly where a miracle happened. This is where Jesus also immersed himself. So you see, a mikveh should have, there are certain, I would say, regulations for a mikveh, like the depth of it, the volume of water it should contain, like 40 se'ah, but we're not exactly sure what a se'ah actually, what to like how much exactly water one se'ah actually contains. That's another question. We're not getting into that. And yeah, so the places we're visiting today, we are talking about them from the point of view of Christianity. Otherwise, I'll never finish. So I'll be omitting some parts that are less relevant for Christianity, just for some other tools. So I hope you understand. It's not that I don't want to talk about anything other about that, but we are focusing specifically on Christianity. There should be steps, and well, and technically speaking, yes, there are steps there. So it was a matter of time to actually start digging. And yes, there is still the drainage, and there is still water coming from Gihon Spring. There's still water. Yeah, so that was a matter of, well, preparing, thinking, and also at that time they also managed to uncover the road that people would take after they immersed themselves to the temple. They uncovered the road, they uncovered the steps, they uncovered the structure, and this is kind of the how shall I put it, the rendering. Well, okay, kind of a small tourist attraction, because we they were found small spaces as if those were shops. And yeah, we know for sure that there were shops all along all the way of the pilgrims, just for food. Also, this is probably the spot where one could buy well, an animal or a bird, a pigeon for sacrifice, and probably the money changer. We'll be talking about that as well. However, like, there's corn here, and I don't understand what the corn is doing here because the corn will not get there, but that's okay. Um, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is they managed to uncover the road. That's the road. We're not going. I was there myself. I didn't film it on that day because it was too dangerous, because of the water dripping, and I didn't want to wet my phone. I didn't take the gimbal with me, and you probably see that there is water here, and I'm quite wet, and it's quite hot. So this is the tunnel, right? This is the tunnel. They managed to uncover the the steps that would go all the way to the corner of the western and the southern wall of the Temple Mount. By the way, now where I'm standing, it's a tunnel because Jerusalem was destroyed in 135 AD, and all of that was buried under the rubble and multiple layers of 2,000 of years of history. But in that tunnel, I am standing now. You can see the bolts over here, and these are very rectangular, perfect stones of the Temple Mount Herodian stone. So you see, we are already very close. Um, yeah, so these are the foundations already of the western walls. And this is a photo taken by one of my group mates. Some bedrock also found and some original stones that were also well uh, found themselves or were found on the ground as a result of the massive destruction. Before we actually go to see the temple, the western and the southern wall, let's see. This is the video taken in I think it's October. I asked my colleague, my group mate, to film it a little bit, like what's going on there in the excavation. So 2 years later, quite a lot has been dug out, as you can see. However, it's still not conclusive. They don't know whether it's the pool or not. Okay, let's put it like that. Um, they haven't been able to uncover everything, right? It's a very quick video. He was just passing by. He wasn't there with tourists whatsoever. And so the question is, okay, it's most probably a pool. They found plaster, and wherever you find a plaster in Israel, in different niches, or like holes or hollows in the ground, that means that was used for the preservation of water. And okay, but they haven't been able to uncover everything. And but I would say not everyone is sure that this is the Pool of Siloam. It may be just the Pool of Solomon, because we know that there was a pool for pleasure that was dug out at times of Solomon, or most of them believe that this is the pool built by King Herod the Great in the first century BCE to please Augustus, the Caesar Augustus. As you know, Herod the Great had to by Augustus, and to just to prove Augustus his allegiance, Herod the Great built Caesarea, and most probably the fortress in Jerusalem as well, and most probably the pools. But this is just a speculation. Josephus Flavius, the main source uh, for archaeologists, historians, and guides, the historian of Herod time mentions the pools of Herod just like once, right? But the pools of Siloam is mentioned by Josephus around 20 times or so. So when I also asked my colleague to see how the tunnel is doing, tunnel is doing fine. At that time in October, it was not possible to go through it, so I'm not sure what the situation now. I wasn't able to visit it in my previous visit, but but we did go through, and there was like water dripping. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't really dangerous for us. It was just dangerous for my gimbal. I didn't want because it's not just water; it's the water with plaster, and eventually it ruined my t-shirt. My favorite striped t-shirt was totally ruined by that because it was like clay in it, plaster, clay, whatnot. So, just a little introduction about what a Temple Mount is. Originally, it's the Mount Moriah. It's just an elevation on which there was a Temple of Solomon built. We don't know exactly what it looked like. There is only descriptions, but there's some rendering from the 16th century. That's most probably how it looked. But as you know, the first temple, Solomon's temple, was destroyed in 586 BCE. After that, the small temple was built. by Zerubbabel. Again, it was much smaller even than the Solomon's temple. Yeah, by the way, this is the for animal sacrifice that would be taking place here 24/7. Yeah, it was a very modest temple compared to what it was at times of King Solomon. And needless to say that there is a bunch of archaeology proven the existence of the temple. We are also not getting there. Um, Not because I don't want, but because there is no time for it. And I have already done quite a bunch of tours on the first temple archaeology around the Temple Mount. Those recordings are available for my supporters and on demand. Well, that's Herod the Great, whom I was talking about, right? That very Herod the Great, who, okay, who was merciless and at times very dangerous. But we know that for Christians, Herod the Great is associated with the massacre of innocents. I realize that. But for Jews, he's also associated the re with the extension of the Temple Mount. So what Herod did, he extended the Temple Mount. As you can see, some plots of some land was added here, and so with the extended territory, he rebuilt the temple. So technically speaking, the second temple is the third temple if we include the Zerubbabel's temple, but that's just not really that relevant. Um, and this is the illustration that I also used for my studies. So this is the western wall, and this is the area available for a visit, which gives us multiple layers of stones underground. And we saw them as we walked past the tunnel from the Siloam pool. But I don't have the video, but you have to trust me on that. And well, just for you to see, this is how much we are really missing because this is the original level and this is the level nowadays. I mean, this is the same level for the plaza area of the Western Wall. I hope this makes sense. But what we're going to see today is quite curious because right now we are in the Davidson Center. Davidson Center is archaeological park um, which is I would say one of my favorite places to visit in Jerusalem when it gets to the area around the Temple Mount. This is this is the southern wall of the Temple Mount. You see the Al-Aqsa Mosque dome over there, right? The Dome of the Rock is a little bit behind you. You cannot see the dome from there. And this is the Western Wall, but this is the section of the Western Wall that is not included in the Western Plaza, that where everyone comes and where you can stay and pray and everything. This is just a drainage channel. And we're going to have a Q&A in a couple of minutes from now. I just want to make sure I take you to the spot where you will kind of be clear where we are. So we are now approaching the very corner of the western and the southern wall, the western southern wall, and you can see bunch of stones here. They are gigantic. You can see them. They are enormous and they're everywhere. Sometimes they are piled one on one. Sometimes they're just laying in big heaps, and there is a reason for it, and we will talk about it. So now you can see that we are now on a kind of a balcony. That is the level of this is the floor level of the Western Wall Plaza. This is the Mughrabi Gate. This is the gate that can be used by non-Muslims to enter the Temple Mount on certain days and certain hours. But this is the original floor. This is the floor from the times of Jesus. This is the floor from the times before Jerusalem was destroyed. First, the temple was destroyed in year 70 AD by Romans, by Vespasian, by Titus, and then the next century, in 135, the entire city would be destroyed. And all of this was under multiple layers of rubble, stones, uh, everything. So I hope now this kind of makes sense, because I know this is not so easy to picture what is happening here. Also to understand, but you can imagine that all of this, we're going to have a Q&A in a minute. All of this was covered with soil. All of this was just, well, just land. There was nothing here. And, and um, well, this area available for the Jordanians lifted off their siege, and so the territory was controlled by Jerusalem, by Israel. I mean, by the state of Israel, because before that, um, it was all part of Jordan. It was controlled by Jordan, by the state of Jordan. Video was filmed in 2023, summer 2023, and I was there just a couple of months ago. Nothing really has changed, so I'm using the old video. Uh, what we can see here now, we are going down to the ground level of the at least first century common era, and what you see is the collection of stones, holes and hollowings on the ground. And what you can see that the stones lying here on the ground, many of them are of a very regular shape. Some of them not that regular. Also, some of them have even some decorations. Looks like these were on the very top. And this is how the stones were discovered. Obviously, there was a lot of cleaning done, but in general, there was found this very damaged, but still the floor. Also, there was found this structure almost intact. And well, imagine that there is no this wall here. Imagine that there is we're passing by the western wall, and eventually we find ourselves by the Damascus Gate. And this is the main street that stretches from Damascus Gate all the way through the entire Jerusalem, right? And so this was like the Fifth Avenue, you know, the corridor, right? The corridor, the main street in every Roman city. But at that point, the Jerusalem, um, it wasn't it, at that point. So the first century, it was not the Roman city. So it's not correct to say that this is a corridor, because corridor is would be a different street built after 137, after 135, revamping of Jerusalem into Aelia Capitolina, the Roman city. But this was the Fifth Avenue of those days, just past the walls of the temple. And we know that there were shops, and the shops were, let's say, Matthew, Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple. They all refused the tables of the money changed and the seats of them that sold doves. What the Gospels mention that the shops, they mentioned the money changer. So as I said, apart from immersing himself into the waters of the mikveh, Jesus also had to exchange his coins for the special half a shekel coin that would be a donation to the temple. Like it was called temple tax. And also Jesus had to buy uh, well, an animal. It could be an oxen, a sheep, or a dove, depending on the budget, right? So he had to buy them. And the prices, you know, even now, when you are in a touristy area, if you want to buy something, it would cost you triple, right? And obviously, since there was only one type of a coin that every Jew was supposed to bring to the temple, otherwise he wouldn't be able to enter the temple. Well, at least the not the temple itself, but the plaza next to the temple for the sacrifice and everything. Um, Obviously, the currency rate for the exchange was outrageous as well. It was a ripoff, and Jesus was furious. He turned over the tables and he told them that that this was a ripoff and that got him the attention that he didn't need to. And these are the stones, they cut ridges, right? So these are the stones that were thrown from the top of the Temple Mount, right? From the wall of the Temple Mount down. When? In year 70 AD. We know when Jesus came to the Mount of Olives and saw Jerusalem, he wept. We visited the church, Dominic Levitt, right? God, the Lord wept because he knew what would happen to Jerusalem. Speaking of the stones, so the stone cutting and the architecture of the renewed Herodian type of temple and the wall, it's definitely Roman technology, definitely. So I'm not going to details here, but so you would see that the bigger, the big the biggest stones, like the master quartz of stones, they will be of this size and absolutely immense. And yeah, you can still see those stones in the tunnels. There are several tunnels that basically go around, go past the western wall, and you can see them. And you can see how huge the stones are, right? I mean, you can see. I wish there was somebody talking, standing next to those stones, but they are enormous in size. You can see that. So all these stones were thrown from the top when in year 70 AD, Jerusalem Jerusalem temple, as a result of one of the revolts of the Jews against the Romans, it fell. So the temple burned, burned down, and that was it. So, but there were shops here. They found coins here. There were shops there. I guess these shops are probably the most expensive ones with the most expensive rent. Looks like because the shops are still there, and that's what happened to the pavement because of the heavy stones falling on it from the height. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. It was the walls were even higher than nowadays. So that was quite interesting. Also here, most probably there were some bakeries. There could have been money changers as well. Yeah, so these are the shops. Basically the same thing that we have nowadays in the oldest central areas. You have shops, you have some attractions. Yeah, and Jesus must have walked this road because um let me show you something over here. Wait a second. So you see this construction? This is the exit from the Siloam pool through, well, let's not go into details. So this is how you could enter from from the spring as well. But eventually, this is exactly how Jesus would walk up to the southern wall, exactly like this. And then he would have to go around the corner to enter the gate, this very special gate. Before that, here, since we're here, I'll quickly go about the archaeology and architecture. So you see these interesting stones, they jut out for sure, and it's a little bit arch. So this is believed to be the arch. You wouldn't believe it. This arch was first, well, the let's say the idea of a possible arch was first put forward by Edward Robinson, the archaeologist of, well, he's one of the distinguished Palestine Exploration Fund archaeologists. And once again, when I say Palestine, I mean the region, right? Please bear with me who is familiar with that. Those who are not, I'm saying it once again. This has nothing to do with the modern state of Palestine. Palestine is the name of the region. The name that was given by the Romans after Jerusalem was destroyed completely, and the name of Judea was forgotten as well as Jerusalem. In 135, the city was destroyed and rebuilt by Emperor Hadrian into a pagan Roman city called Aelia Capitolina. The entire region from Judea was renamed into Syria Palestina, and Palestina is the word denoting the peoples, the sea peoples that actually, according to the most recent DNA research, they came from the Mediterranean, even southern Spain. And the Philistines lived at the same time as the Israelites would return from their slavery in Egypt. So this was the name of the region. There is the Ottoman Palestine, mandatory Palestine, and on the same land there would always live the Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians, Palestinian Jews. They had always lived, with some little exceptions, in one and the same city. So I just had to say that. And well, Albert Robinson just put forward an idea, and yes, exactly, they were found proof for the existence of the of this interesting arch. It's now called Robinson's Arch. So it looks like Herod the Great built a very special entrance to the Temple Mount. These are the archaeologists that work. So the Elat Mazar and Benjamin Mazar. So she's the granddaughter. So both of them are archaeologists. Um, obviously, Elat Mazar passed away a long time ago. And well, right now, the most recent, I would say, finding show that the arch could have actually have four entries. There were four steps, and this was the VIP entrance. All the common people would be entering through the southern wall, not through this gate. So it looks like Herod revamped the entire Temple Mount and just added some VIP entrance, just like that. There was found lots of items. Well, this is just the golden ring with the menorah. Many items were found here, so we know that yes, that's exactly what the pilgrimage would be. Now, let's do the following. Let's see how much time we have. Oh, we still have plenty of time. I would like to move a little bit further from here. Now we are going up just to see by the way, so from here, from this, from the steps, that's, we could see, we can imagine, we can picture what the arch looked like. And some also believe that the shops, the most expensive ones, with expensive rent, they could have been why they have been that well preserved. They actually could have been parts within the construction of the arch. They could have been under the steps. This is just a little bit of the chronological division in Israel. It's because I will be mentioning some things as we are approaching the gates through which most people, common people, would be visiting, would be entering the Temple Mount. And this is just kind of a little bit of a time frame for you. And I would like to move faster from here. So we're going past these walls, and yeah, so we are entering the southern wall. So this section over here, what we're looking at are the ruins of the so-called Umayyad palaces. So this is the ruins of already the first Muslim period. Well, they were big palaces, also gardens. Um, I would say, well, look at all this, right? I mean, they're gigantic. They're really huge. And the thing is that there is no really any mentions whatsoever of these palaces of the Umayyad dynasty. It's just not in there. Just that. I'm just saying. From here, I would like to go a little faster because we are passing something not exactly relevant to the times of Jesus. We will get back to that. And here are the ruins of the also Byzantine period. So Umayyad palaces were built on top of the Byzantine period ruins from the Byzantine times. And there are found mosaics, there are found lots of ruins of from the Byzantine and from the Umayyad period. This is this is the the picture I sourced from the internet. So you would see that we are in this area and there is a passageway, and then this is where we will be. Quite an interesting spot. Now we are going past. We're going through this gate, and yeah, we can continue. This is also the Byzantine period constructions over there. There was even found absolutely intact mosaic before. But now, through these gates, we are entering exactly the spot where well, obviously there were no Umayyad palaces in the times of Jesus, so they would just go around and enter the Temple Mount through the gate. The area we are now, well, you remember from the photograph, there were lots of excavations going on. The area is called Ophel. Ophel. It is, well, it means kind of ascension, right? Because you're going up to the Temple Mount, which is an elevation for sure. And that area is full of mikvaot. It's full of these baths, right, for spiritual purification. Also, this construction, that the archway that we passed through, it was built in much later period, in Muslim period. And for example, this lintel is believed to have been from the church built in the Byzantine period, so the near church, the basilica. The one is even on the Manaba map, the map from the 6th century Common Era found in Jordan, which shows the Christian sites, ignoring any other sites in the city, just that. And well, there's this really nice visuals. You can imagine what the place looked like at times of Jews in the temple, so before it was destroyed. So what we're looking at, you must have noticed the two gates, right? So these are actually, this is the part of one and the same gate complex called Fulda Gate complex. There were triple gates for entry and the double gates for exit. And this is what's left from the gate, from the exit gate. Um, and by the way, so there was found the decoration, the swastika decoration. It was just there. It was on the ceiling of the archway. And now there are several parts of this swastika decoration in the exhibition center at the entrance to the Robinson Park. Anyway, um, and what you see here is again the steps, 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 steps. Some steps are new, like this one, and some steps are old. And well, those that look ugly, most probably are the steps that Jesus might have stepped himself. He was a poor Jew. He was well, he was a he could. There's no way he could have entered it through the arch that Herod built. There's no way that could have happened. No way. So which means that he hardly he could hardly afford immersing himself in a private mikveh. He must have done it in a big public mikveh for everyone. So you see, this is for us to understand. So this is the Temple Mount walls. This is the double gate for exit, and this is the triple gate for the entrance. What was in between in this entire area? So the offal is full of mikvaot, and some of those mikvahs, by the way, still have even water in them. Well, after the rains, it would still be there, so they can still hold the water, literally and also metaphorically. And also, we believe that there had been shops there too, because it would kind of make sense. Technically speaking, you could bring an animal for sacrifice with you, from wherever you were coming from. But that wasn't, I would say, very clever thing to do, considering how long a trip could have taken you. And now I would like to go a little quicker from here. So again, there is this A that I tried to I tried to film it so you could see it. So there used to be the triple gate. So the Holda gates, they're called. Holda is the name of the prophetess, and also Holda is a name of a, well, it's a rodent. Um, Interesting name for gate. Not much I can say here. And you can clearly see the three entrances. And the Mishnah, which is the collection of um, like Jewish code of conduct issued a bit later. It just it tells exactly how the pilgrims would look like. So there would be entry for the triple gate, exit for the double gate, the folder gate complex, and you have it. Obviously, later on, the gates would be all closed because there is no more entry to the Temple Mount. Um, so that's the case. There were lots of there were lots of changes altogether whatsoever made over the course of multiple years, and we know that the walls would be taken down multiple times. The last time the walls of the I would say in general of the old city would be last time rebuilt during the Ottoman Empire by Suleiman the Magnificent, the 1500s, 1530s. But when it gets to the Temple Mount, oh, there were so many changes. And obviously, with the construction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and also the Solomon Stables, which were built in the Crusader period and then now also used by by Muslims. Obviously, uh, there's no entry, so the gates will be all covered up, but they're still there. They are still there. And from here, if you approach the gate, you will be overlooking the Mount of Olives. So this is exactly, well, approximately where Jesus wept, like seeing Jerusalem, because he knew what would happen. And these are the Jewish tombs. So now the Mount of Olives is the Jewish cemetery, and this is the VIP cemetery because it is also according to Judaism and according to Christians, this is where the Messiah would come from, just like Jesus entered entered Jerusalem. And you know that there was a prophecy that a Messiah, the prophecy in the Old Testament, right? It's like from Zechariah, the book of Zechariah, that the Messiah would come also through the Mount of Olives. Somebody, you must have noticed there was some inscription, it's in Hebrew, it's a Hebrew name. So somebody at some point, Middle Ages, knew that this had been the Hulda Gate, so he just carved his name there. Just that. And right now, we are on this elevation. We are finishing up in a couple of minutes. Sorry for the overrunning. We are approaching the other gate, the double gate of the Hulda complex. And just see the stones, right? So these are still the Herodian stones. You can see how huge they are. And the rest is of a different period. And you see what's in there? These are the little notes that, Jews would put in all the cavities and the holes in the Western Wall, and they do it here too. Well, those who know, they know. Again, this is clearly not, this doesn't belong here. This must have been from a near church or elsewhere. So you can see by the different sizes, different types of the stones that would be used to rebuild to rebuild the walls and to seal the entrance to the Temple Mount. And this is at the entrance of the museum complex. This is the swastika that was found on the ceiling decoration of that archway. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the Nazis. So you could see also how big or how small it is, because if it's just the video, there's not really much you can understand without contrasting it to something else. And last thing to show. Um, Again, to prove what's happened with Jerusalem in the Roman times. So yeah, we know exactly. So this is the milestone that indicates the place of the 10th Legion, and we know that the 10th Legion is the one that was quartered in Jerusalem to maintain peace and to protect the Rome from the Jewish uprisal. Also, I would appreciate your support. You could send your PayPal donations to me, or you could buy me a coffee or coffees, depending on your budget. And also on my YouTube channel, the link is just there. You can see the recordings of the tours that I did past weekend, the tours I have done this weekend, and I'm going to keep it in open access for about a week. So well, take your time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I will see you in, I guess, 1 hour from now. Yeah, again in Jerusalem in the Mount of Olives. No, in 90 minutes from now, actually. Oh, I have enough time to actually schedule maybe a couple more tours, which is always great. So I will see you in 90 minutes from now in the Mount of Olives to see the Russian Orthodox Ascension Cathedral, well, actually convent, and also to see the museum in the old city of Jerusalem, just a corner away, well, just around the corner from the Holy Sepulchre. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'll see you in 90 minutes in Jerusalem again, not really far from where I'm standing virtually. Bye bye, everyone.